All right, it is noon, so we are live on Facebook. I'm here with Tom Bennick. Elizabeth is out today. She has Mia, her daughter, is not feeling so well. So we hope Mia's feeling a little bit better. But every Wednesday at noon, we do a very informal question and answers. We'll cover a different topic, but we want people to come in and be comfortable. Just ask whatever questions they have about the mortgage process. We're going to cover a few things today. We're going to do a little bit of a recap from our event. We had a hugely successful event with Dorothy Jacks last Wednesday. She talked about a few things with the property appraiser's office, portability, calculating taxes and millage rates. So we'll recap that. We'll do a little bit with the hometown heroes and what's happening with that money, and it's going quickly.
That money's going fast.
Yeah, boy, I think they went through $3.5 million yesterday. Mm-hmm. I thought I saw it at $36 million, and I think we were at 32.5 or so today.
And to think it started with 100 million July 3rd, and yet it's, what are we in, August 9th? And that's obviously more than half gone if I did the math right.
Yeah, we're at 32.5. Pretty sure I was at 36 because I hadn't refreshed it this morning. I was at 36. I refreshed it from yesterday and down to 32.5. So, boy, that's quickly. So we've got a couple, and we just don't want to wait. We don't want to wait too long, and we keep hoping. We have some indicators coming out this week that I was hoping to get some better news or some better rates. But you don't want to be costing your customers a Hometown Heroes loan because we're chasing an eighth or a quarter better. So we just want to make sure that we're watching this stuff closely.
Yeah, if you're really looking to move or try to make a move or consider your moving options or purchasing something, now is the time, because I don't think that money's going to be lasting through the rest of the year. Going on what's happened in the past 30 to 45 days.
Yeah. You can see it right here. I mean, if you're in the lower income groups, you can be getting 7%, 6.875. And the thing I got to tell everybody is these are no points. These are no discount points. So, so many of the loans right now come with, 1 point, a charge. So if you get a $200,000 loan, that rate is, if you're paying 1 point for that rate, you're paying $2,000 for that rate. This one here, you're not paying discount points for that rate. And you also have some governmental fees and things like that are not on these loans. So you end up with a good rate at a good cost, and you end up with some lower closing costs overall. So it's still a really good loan. We're just always trying to get better,
Leaving that rate sheet open. So this rate sheet is strictly, as Mike points out on the top of the page, Florida housing. This is strictly for the Heroes program. If we were doing a regular conventional or FHA loan, we would have to go through a completely different interest rate system to find out what the rates are outside of the Heroes program. And as I'm checking yesterday, I don't think I saw many at par, meaning the rate didn't cost you anything when you were getting up into the 6.99%, 7%. So yes, this program certainly has not only lower costs, but lower rates to it as well. That's why it's going so fast.
Yeah. And it's, look, at using the government's money, no payments, no interest. So, I would say is if you've got the $20,000, but they're going to give you the $20,000, keep your 20, use their 20. And then when it comes time to refinance, then you go ahead and give the money back.
Yeah. For customers that have been saying we needed some assistance, or I'm waiting for some kind of, assistance with the closing fees or the costs are too high, this is the answer. So you want to jump on this before it runs out.
Now the bond, though, is a good program too. So sometimes a bond makes more sense. It's going to cap out about $10,000. Also, you have to pay the bond back, but and it's maximum $10,000, but there's certain things we can do. We count household income for bond. So if you have a non-occupant co-borrower, we're not going to count their income, but we will count everybody's income that's inside the house. So sometimes the Hometown Heroes works better, and you might not qualify for Hometown Heroes, but you might go ahead and qualify for bond, and then vice versa. Sometimes you're not going to qualify for bond, but you qualify for Hometown Heroes. So we just want to make sure we're looking at everything and getting everybody the best that's out there.
And don't forget, if you don't qualify for these programs because you make too much money to meet these program guidelines, please don't be discouraged. It's a good thing, but we do have to stick with the income limits that are set by these, individual bond loan programs.
Yeah. All right, let's
We had a great turnout at the Dorothy Jacks event that we held last week. That was a very informative. She spent a good 2 hours, I think, maybe longer, just going through the site, the goods, and the bads, and everything that we'll discuss in a minute. But here's a quick video.
You see her video, and this was a great. I got to definitely tip my hat to Deanna Rodriguez in her office, and she has a great song to this too. Where we'll go to just do a quick. Just put together a very professional video, and she's just showing it as it's getting together, as people are pouring in, and it's realtors and lenders. So the function starts at 2 o'clock, and we had somebody there. We had our first person there at 10 to 2. So we were a little bit worried, but I tell you, by about 10 after, you can see it was packed. So absolutely packed event. Dorothy Jacks, just can't say enough good things about her. I have, questions and, some disagreements about how we do portability and things like that. But we've got a property appraiser who's just brilliant. She's been doing it forever. And her intent is, to try and be moving it in the right direction. And you're laughing, Tom, there.
So, she gave a great talk about Palm Beach County, about the properties, how taxes are determined, and what's going on in the future with millage rates and or taxes or under homestead and portability. It was very informative. And thank you to everybody that came out. I know everybody's busy in this industry, of course, and it's tough knowing what your schedule is going to be like sometimes for the day. So thank everybody that showed up. We had a great turnout and appreciate everybody's time.
Yeah. So we had, that was Gabrielle Bryce over there with Trident Title, and Jeff Hall over with Keller Williams. And we just had a great show off from Keller Williams. That's Sue Tobin, who's on the leadership. And we just had Nick Menzioni and Michelle Menzioni.
Mike, their broker, showed up from Keller Williams. Wellington was Russell is in there. Yeah. Everybody took the time to come to show up. So thank you. It was a nice turnout.
And then lastly, I was going to show, Dorothy sat there at the end and just answered a lot of questions one-on-one. So again, just very, very generous with her time, and staying to ask questions. So a lot of people left, and she stayed and, answered whatever questions and covered a lot of interesting things. So let's go ahead and get out of this. But again, just very, very good stuff.
Yeah, it was very informative and nice of her to take the time.
Yep. Now, I'll just do a quick recap. We're not going to go too much into the portability, but I do want to do a quick recap of what's happening on the portability. Now, in the state of Florida, the whole idea of homestead exemption is you buy a house, it's your dream house, you spend $400,000 on a dream house now, and then that house becomes that neighborhood becomes a great neighborhood. Investors want to start buying in there. They want to do something. And now your $400,000 house becomes worth $3 million because somebody wants to buy it and turn it into some commercial property. Well, they don't want to run you out of your property because your property becomes valuable. They don't want to run homeowners out. So they say, all right, that $400,000 house, you bought it. So if you buy it this year in 2023, in 2024, they're going to go ahead and they're going to give a value of that house. So in 2024, they have property appraisers, and it comes out in usually August what they're going to value your house at. And it's based off of what the projected value is on January 1st of 2024. All right. So in 2024, January 1st, so you bought the house at $400,000. They don't want to have everybody upset. So they don't want to be valuing over. So they're trying to value at about 80 to 90% of the real value or the purchase price. So if you paid $400,000 and then the value of the property in January 1st of 2024 was maybe $400,000, hopefully at 80%, they value at about $320. So they give you $320 to maybe a $360 property value. All right. So that gets locked in as your homestead exemption value. That's your property value at that time. So then you have a homestead exemption of $50,000. So let's say you're at $320. You got a homestead exemption of $50,000. Now you're at $270,000 as your taxable value. So they're not going to let your property value, the assessed value, raise more than 3% per year. So that 320 can only go up 3% every year. That taxable value part can only go up 3% every year. That way, if the house becomes worth $1 million next year, you're not paying taxes that are going to force you out of that house. But a 3% increase in the assessed value every year is the maximum they can raise your assessed value. Okay. Now they can raise the taxes more, so you can actually have an increase of greater than 3%. So if they do an assessed value raise of 3% and a taxable value increase, then you can actually have a little bit higher. But still, it protects you. I think that explanation was a little complicated, but that's the purpose of your homestead. The bottom line is it's to protect you, okay, and your homestead property, and not for you to not get priced out. Now that protection isn't there for an investment property. You buy a $400,000 house that becomes worth $1 million. I mean, good for you. But they won't raise the taxes on the investment property. I believe it's more than 10% per year. But now you've been in that house. You paid $400,000. They said it's $320 is the assessed value. Well, let's say the assessed value slowly over time climbs up to $350 because they can raise a little bit. So they have it at $350, and now they say your market value though is $500. So if they say your market value is $500, your assessed value is $350, that's $150,000 of portability you bring with you to your next house. All right. So if we take a quick look at this one right here, this house here, we can see that the market value on this house is $456,000, and that's the market value as of January 1st, 2022. They're saying at January 1st, 2022 is the market value. Okay. The assessed value they have is $226,549. Okay. So that's the assessed value is where the taxes start from. Now I have a homestead exemption of $50,000 on it. So my taxable value is $176,000. Okay. So $176,000 taxable value means that I pay $3,564 in taxes every single year. So let's say I sell this house and I buy another house. The portability is going to be the market value minus the assessed value. So 456 minus 226, pretty lucky, is going to be $230,000 of portability that I bring with me. So when I buy my next house, I'm going to have $230,000 of less taxes I'm going to pay. So if they assess my property at, $636,000, my taxes are going to start at $400,000. So that's going to save me about $5,000, a little bit less than $5,000 a year in taxes by having portability. So portability is a big deal. Now, where my beef comes is that if my house is selling at $650, if my house is selling for $650 or so, I feel like I'm losing $200,000 of portability. So that $200,000 of portability is costing me $4,000 a year of additional taxes. But remember that 456 is based off of the value of 2021, January 1st, and they're only trying to get within about 80% of that. So that's where the difference is. So anyways, all right.
Right.
The portability on that.
I leave that up though, if you don't mind, because I'm gonna
definitely.
I'm gonna elaborate on that on something if you're good.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so it's all good. So now I just want to play out a hypothetical. This is a seller, and this individual is going to sell their house, or now that the names are up there, Mike and Kimberly are going to sell their house. And I want you to page down, if you don't mind. And if you look at what they're currently paying right now in taxes, which I think the figure was somewhere around $3,500. So they're paying $3,564 a year in taxes. And if I was going to go over and make an offer on Mr. Doyle's house, offer got accepted, and I need to go for financing and a loan, and let's just say I bought the house for how much? $650.
Okay. 700. Make me happy.
All right, 700 it is. Man, 700,000 it is. Okay. And so I am going to go ahead and get a contract for 700,000, and I am going to purchase Mike's property and all as well. The lender is going to approve me based on what the current tax bill is today, $3,564, which comes out to $297 per month, obviously unheard of. However, this is what this is what a borrower is being qualified on. This is another thing we like to bring up to all of our borrowers. Don't forget, I'm being qualified on the amount that Mike, the current owner, is paying. However, if we page down, or if we go a little bit, we're going to go to the right and we'll see where it says an estimated tax calculator. And once you click on that, this window will pop up and it'll say now, okay, you might be approved on how much Mike is paying for the property tax today, But welcome to the neighborhood, Tom. Congratulations. You're going to end up paying close to $12,000 a year. Now, on the next, a block below it, it says if I want to file for homestead exemption, of course, we're going to click yes. It comes out to $11,535, but that's a long ways away from the $3,564 that not only Mike has been paying, but now I was just approved that $297 per month. And now, if I just take the $11,535 and divide that by 12, we're going to see my taxes is going to go somewhere close to $900 per month, if I did the math right.
Versus 300. So
right.
The beauty of this is when you find out about this, you've gotten a note from your lender that says you're about $8,000 short of on your escrow, because the lender went ahead and collected $3,500. So the lender's got $3,500 sitting in their escrow account ready to pay your taxes. But then the lender gets a bill for $11,500. So you just get a little letter in the mail that says, hey, we just need $8,000 from you, and then we're going to raise your monthly payment $900 to $900 a month. And then you call us.
And that's when we get the phone calls. Okay, well, you know what? I thought we were in a fixed rate mortgage. So why is the rate going up? You're in a fixed rate mortgage. Your principal and interest remain the same. It's your insurance. We always want to try to give you a heads up. Look, prepare for your reassessment of your insurance the first year you're in the house, because it's going to happen. Again, you're certainly not going to. I would love to be able to pay the taxes that Mike paid, but that ain't going to happen. You're going to get reassessed, and you're going to get assessed for the new amount, and your escrows are going to change as well. So it's just something that we like to bring to your attention, so there's no surprises up in the following year.
Yeah, we're going to know pretty much. I mean, you can almost figure out. I mean, I tell people, figure out at least 1.5 times the purchase price.
Yeah.
So if you're doing $700,000, I mean, $700,000, times 1.5 gets you up a little bit over 10,000. I really like 1.6 is a good one. So 700, 1, 2, 3 times 0.016. Get you pretty close.
Yeah.
Get you pretty close. That's not factoring in a portability, but that gives you a ballpark figure. So regardless of what the taxes are, be thinking about 1.6. Now the goal on this is, and again, we can't say this, but Dorothy Jackson says they want to keep you at about 80 to 90%. So let's say you paid $700,000 for it. So if they're trying to keep people happy, so you do 700, 1, 2, 3 times 0.85. Hopefully they give you about a 595. So maybe they put a 595 value in there for you. So 595. And then you end up with your exemption, you end up closer to about 97.64. So, that's going to save you a little bit of money. So,
yeah, $2,500, €2,300.
Yeah. So, and again, a lot of this stuff is going to be, what are your millage rates? Property tax details, and you can see like right here. I mean, the millage rates where I am, because I'm in the county, the millage rates where I am in the county is 16. It's 0.168. So, if you're in Wellington, I believe you're at about 0.19, 1.68. So I'm in the county. If you're in the municipalities, you come out a little bit higher. Now, also, you have certain homestead exemptions that they will allow $50,000. You can have a $50,000 homestead exemption on multiple things, but on the school district stuff, you only get a $25,000 homestead exemption. So that's why you can see that the taxable value on these is $176,000 on some of them and $201,000 on the others, because they don't give you the additional exemption on the school district stuff. So just other stuff to make. And then also your non-ad valorem assessments, those will be a little bit more fixed. But I'll tell you, my son is buying, and his non-ad valorem assessments, I haven't seen them, are zero, but I've seen them in the thousands. I've seen non-ad valorem that are in the thousands, and it can be a big surprise to customers depending on the municipalities that they might have bought in. So these are things too, if you're home buyers, a little knowledge of this stuff can be a help. So if you can jump into the property appraisers' offices and start looking at it and get comfortable with it, that kind of stuff can be a big help.
We got a question real quick from Denise. She's asking about the taxes. How do you save for, I guess, the new tax bill or whatever? It's the best thing to do is, of course, you're going to have your escrows and your monthly payment and your monthly payment for your taxes and your insurance. But put a little money aside if you can every month, a little bit here and there, just so you're ready for your new assessment in the upcoming year. It's something that we'll certainly discuss with you and bring to your attention so there's no surprises.
Yeah, it looks like they don't have the aerial views in there today too. So
that little tool thing that you pointed on gave us some what is it?
They don't have some of the stuff up like you can see right here.
Gotcha.
Yeah, some of the stuff it looks like isn't working. Now they do have some tools coming out, like they're saying they're going to start having a little bit more 3D stuff, so you'll be able to start looking at some of these properties with in 3 dimensionals. But yeah, you can see right now it looks like some of this mapping stuff is not up and running right now. So, all right. Also, we've got Robert asking is what does he need to do if he disagrees with his market value? So the trim notices are coming out in the next couple of weeks, and it tells you what your property value is going to be. It tells you everything: your property value, your homestead exemption, and everything else like that. So if it's completely out of line, it's going to give you a path for disputing it. So for me, I'm going to be looking at having a lot of people dispute. But one of the things we did learn on this was the market value is as of January 1st. So we're going to see when they come out. So if my stuff comes out and it says that my market value is, 2021, it went from 334 to 456. That was a pretty big jump. So it showed a jump of $120,000. But let's say it comes out and it says $500,000. Now, the argument's going to be, what was my house value on January 1st? And I do not want to be giving Zillow any credit at all, but let's just look real quick. And see what they're saying. All right. So they're saying 650. So I don't know. It hasn't been, let's say best case scenario that let's say we've had a 5% increase and we've pretty much been somewhat flat this year. It'd be hard to argue much more than a 5% or so, but that gives me about a 620. So let's say there was a value of 620, and then let's see, according to the property appraisers, they don't want to be, if they're within 80%, they're not looking for they're not going to be so much on my side on a fight. So let's say we're at 620, 1, 2, 3 times 0.8, 496. So the property appraiser is going to be taking the point that if I'm at 496, so if they have me valued at 496, they're probably not going to be so agreeable to an argument. All right. So that 456, anything up to 496 is going to be a hard one for me to argue. And it is a little bit, again, 496 call 500. If I am selling it for 700, in my mind, I feel like I'm losing $200,000 of portability. But the way they have their stuff set up, they're feeling that they're pretty much dead on. So that's a whole nother class.
You're holding on tight. The other thing she mentioned, which was cool, is that homestead exemption, when you file, we used to have to get your license and everything transferred over. You still have to do that, but I don't think you need to upload it. She's saying, I guess all the municipalities now talk to one another, so they'll know if you updated your registration, your vehicle registration. They'll know the warranty deed was delivered. So we'll see. Interesting.
Yeah, she's pretty much said that if you buy a house today, you should be able to file that exemption for your homestead exemption, like right there.
Yeah, right away.
I still feel like you may wait a little bit. I tell everybody, when the deed comes back to you, everything's in there. You can verify the information in the property appraiser's office that's been recorded. And, it's a good kind of reminder to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But, also where everybody gets caught, because, sometimes people, they end up renting their house out. They don't take their homestead exemption off of it, or they bought another place and they're trying to keep their homestead exemption. But when they mail you that trim notice in August, and it's forwarded over to your new account or to your new address, they're going to get you. So, you know what? You pretty much want to let them know when you've moved, so you can go ahead and transfer your homestead exemption.
She also said something which was, I know that she said the 3% if it's a homestead property is the cap per year. And I thought at one point if it was an investment property, it was unlimited. But did she say it's capped now at 10%?
I think it's 10%. I think she
Okay.
said capped at 10%. So
All right. So that's another reason why you also want to be just motivated to get your homestead exemption in there, because you're either going to be capped at 3% or 10%. And 3% is a heck of a lot lower than 10.
yeah. And with the homestead exemption, you got your $50,000. So you're saving close to, you're saving close to $1,000 in property taxes right off the bat. Plus you're locking in the value of your house. So, I mean, you go back to this one here really quick. Now, luckily I've been in this place, forever. Hold on.
You're pulling up the Doyle estate.
I'm trying to pull up the Doyle estate. But you can see, boy, if somebody went ahead and bought the house.
Look at the bottom. Sorry, not to cut you off, but she
Yeah.
did point this out at the bottom. Now they put a disclaimer in there. Buyers take note. So that goes to what we were talking about on the property taxes when transfer of ownership takes place.
Yeah. The seller's exemption benefits will go away the year after they sell. So one thing of kind of interest though is if you're buying a house that has a homestead exemption on it, you should have a protection in November. All right. So if there's a homestead exemption on it, the taxes shouldn't go up more than 3%, or the assessed value shouldn't go up more than 3% when the taxes come out in November. So if you buy in February, March, whatever, April, May, June. So November, you shouldn't get hit with a big increase in your taxes. But the following November, you're going to get that big adjustment, the one that Tom was talking about earlier. Now, if you're buying in January, February, March, or whatever this year, and there's no homestead exemption on that property, it could reset it right there in November. Now, she did say on vacant land, if you're buying a house, there's vacant land, you will have some protections that November. You'll be paying a low tax bill in November on vacant land, but the adjustment the following November is going to be substantial once we start counting your house. So these things, again, as long as you know them up front and you factor them in, it's fine. All right. It's just when you don't factor them in, it becomes a potential problem.
And the reason why we want to factor these in is because we also know the way insurance is going in Florida, we're all being affected by that. And I certainly don't see insurance rates going down. So, the first year, of course, you're in the house, you got to prepare for the taxes and any other insurance things that may or may not come up for all of us in the state of Florida. So that's why it's just good to address these things, up front.
Then we had Deanna also is asking what's a point, and a point is it's 1%. I don't know how we call it a point, but it's 1%. So when somebody says this lender's quoting a certain rate, we can quote you about any rate you want. I mean, you can get whatever rate you want if you're willing to pay the interest up front. So when Tom says par, we read an interest rate. Let's say the interest rate is 7%, and he says that's at par. That means we're not charging you any money for that rate. So if I say I have to charge you 1 point for that 7% rate, that means that if it's a $200,000 loan, 1 point is 1%. So you're going to pay $2,000 in upfront interest, which is a discount point. So you'll pay $2,000 for that 7% rate. So if somebody says the rate is 7% at a point, that's what it means. Now, the process can be overwhelming, especially to a first-time home buyer. So first-time home buyers come to me all the time and they're like, oh my gosh, the other lenders, what's your rate? What's your rate? My lender's quoting me 675. All right, what's he charging you for it? I don't know. Well, we see the documents, we'll see 4 points being charged. So that $200,000 loan could be $8,000 that somebody's charging them for these loans. So, again, the rate only means so much. Now, right now, again, it's believed, and there's no crystal ball, that the rate should be trending down. So we're expecting to be refinancing people in the next 2 years from their existing rates. So I'm not a big fan. I want customers to buy the rate down enough to where they have a 2-year return on their investment. So basically, if they pay 1 point or that 1% up front, I want them to save a 0.5 point in their I want them to save a half a point in their actually interest rate. So if I'm saying 7% is costing you nothing, and I could say, okay, if you pay 1 point, you get it at 6.5, that makes sense, because it should be, if we refinance in 2 years, it didn't help you, it didn't hurt you, but it's sort of an insurance policy, because if the rates don't go down, 3, 4, 5, 6 years later, you're wishing that you paid that point.
Yeah, a par is at no cost. And again, we don't set the rates. The rates are set by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, whoever the investor is going to be. But yeah, when there's a cost to it, that's the cost that needs to get paid at closing. And again, that's a part of the industry that you don't necessarily have to bring up. Sometimes, again, like Mike said, you're getting a lower rate from somebody. Sometimes the lowest rate is going to give you the highest cost. So we just want to go through that with you.
All right, let's do real quick. Just want to show you Facebook Live. If you're here, you probably already went through our Facebook Live, but our office is facebook.com, Wellington, Lake Worth. So facebook.com, Wellington, Lake Worth. It brings you to the office page, and then you can come in and just follow us on Facebook Live, and you can see right there, just to make things more confusing,
that we're live.
It's right there. So, all right. But every Wednesday, hop in, ask your questions, and join us. All right.
Yeah.
Tom, anything else good going on?
Please call us if you want to get pre-approved. You want to get an idea on where you are with credit, income, trying to get a pre-approval of where you are financially. Please give us a call. We're here to help.
All right, everybody. Thanks again for joining. We'll see you next week.